Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and in this review we're looking at the new Melbourne Flinders Classic. Now, I reviewed the original Flinders probably about 4 years ago now in 2014, so it's nice to get a glimpse of how Melbourne have progressed in this time with their latest version. So let's start unboxing it. So as you can see, it comes in a nice black case. And inside we have this very elegant and classy looking wooden box. Here it is. Nice little button on the front to release it. So let's open it up. There's the watch itself, some nice polished steel hinges, some information in the top flap here, some operating instructions, and a warranty card as well. So very nice unboxing experience. You can smell the leather as well. It smells lovely. And here we have the watch in question. So very splendid case, that's for sure. Very impressed by the way it looks and the way it feels. So that's a good positive. Onto the watch itself in question then. So the Flinders Classic, the new Flinders, will cost you 950 Australian dollars. So that equates to around £535 or approximately 700 US dollars. Obviously that is more expensive than the original, no doubt about it. So let's discuss some of the specs, the build quality as well, to determine if it is worth the money. So specs wise, so I've got about a 7¼ inch wrist. And here we go. We have a 40mm diameter, a height of 9.9mm, and a lug-to-lug length of 47mm. So for me, I think it fits perfectly. I think 40mm is really a sweet spot for classy watches. It does wear a little bit larger, mainly because of the sheer square barrel shape of the case. But thankfully the lugs are reasonably dumpy, and it's reasonably thin in terms of height-wise. Under 10mm is pretty good. And also, I think because of the fact that it's pretty much all dial, there's only about a 2mm bezel surrounding the dial. That obviously aids the fact that it does look larger than a 40mm watch. So weight-wise is 77 grams, so pretty lightweight, very comfortable to wear. Thanks to the size, the comfort of the strap as well aids this as well. It's very easy to wear for long periods of time. Water resistance is 5 atmospheres or 50 meters, so you do have a little bit of cover there, but I wouldn't recommend you going swimming in it at all. You have a 20mm lug width, so I think that is in good proportion to the size of the case as well. It doesn't look too wide or too thin, just right. And the movement used, now this is one of the primary upgrades. We're now using a Swiss-made Sellita SW200-1. So obviously that is very nice, reliable, decent Swiss-made movement, and it's certainly been regulated well as well. This one in particular is coming in at minus 0.5 seconds a day, so obviously that is incredibly accurate, well within COSC specs. So obviously that's a really good positive, and we get a bit of customization on the rotor as well. You get a 2-year warranty with the watch in question also. Okay, so let's discuss it in a little bit further detail. So starting off with the dial then. The majority of the dial hasn't changed style from the original Flinders, but I still think it works really well. Very nice, elegant, classy. When you look at it at a glance, it looks very straightforward, very simple really, but the good thing about Melbourne Watch Co is that there's always little tiny nuances here and there that you don't originally notice. For instance, I really like the applied hour markers. So if I get a nice close-up, very nice and thick, really well manufactured. But you can see they're a baton with a ramp on the end. But in addition to this, they have a tiny little sphere on the end as well. Really tiny, really delicate, but really nicely put together. And that's one of those things that you, at a glance, you won't even notice, but when you look up close, you can appreciate it. The date window as well is applied, nice little polished steel border to it, and then our hands blued, pitched, and I really like the M counterweights to the seconds hand as well. So we have a bit of texture, a bit of depth to the dial as well, but it's still very subtle, very classy, very tasteful. Obviously, this central disc has a number of channels engraved in it, and then the logo in Flinders are raised on a little plaque, so the print work is on a flat surface, and then this outer ring is on a higher level, and then surrounded by a minute track on a lower level. I'll just give it a little bit of a wipe. So yeah, simple, but upon closer inspection, it has a few little tiny details which are really nice to see, and just keeps you interested, really. But I think it's a good example of simple but effective design. Moving on to the case then, we have a variety of sections to the case. It's a 3-piece case, but not in the standard way. What's quite interesting is the fact that the lugs are actually connected to the case back. As you can see here, there's usually the lugs in this central bit are one piece, but this is actually the lugs and the case back are one piece, and then the barrel is actually a separate piece which slots around it by the looks of things, and then obviously our bezel on top. So we have an array of finishes. Our bezel is fully polished, and then our sides are brushed, which is sensible because that's likely to get dings. And then our lugs have polished sides to the lugs, and a polished shoulder, and then a brushed top and brushed inside as well. And then moving on to the case back, we have this very small ring of polished surface around the outside. So when you're looking at it from the side, it's visible, a nice little brushed, polished sandwich there. And then on the case back itself, we have fully brushed with details deeply engraved around the exhibition window. So again, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. However, one key thing that I really, really like is this little indent into the case back. That makes life so much easier, and I'm surprised more people don't do this. Literally, the reason it's there is so you can fit your nail in underneath the crown and give it a good pull to set the time. So that's a really, really intuitive little bit of manufacturing there, which is really, really handy. The crown is just push-pull, and this was one of the main things that I didn't like about the Flinders, actually. The crown seemed to be a little bit out of proportion. It was too thin, stuck out too much, whereas this is much nicer. It doesn't stick out quite as much, but it has, a better size for you to be able to grip. It has decent grip as well, and we still have the Melbourne logo engraved on the end there, which is very nice and neat. So moving on to the movement itself, as I mentioned before, really, really good accuracy, minus 0.5 seconds a day. And then we have this custom rotor. So I believe this top section is most likely just a sticker. However, we do have some custom printing in the Melbourne font, 26 joules Swiss movement there. So obviously it's nice to see a bit of customization. You sort of would expect a watch costing this much, but it is good, to see that. Moving on to the strap then. Really, really nice, genuine leather, really comfortable. The black offsets the white perfectly, really classic, really elegant as well. And black stitching, no nonsense really. But the top grain is lovely and soft. It smells amazing as well. Really, really comfortable on the wrist. So they've done a good job on the case itself, on the strap itself, sorry. And then moving on to the buckle. So this is the same buckle that Melbourne have had throughout the years, which is nice to see. It's still doing the rounds. Nice curvaceous top bar. Sometimes buckles can be really, really boring, but I like the way this is very, very curvaceous to be able to handle the round Melbourne logo. And then we have a couple of channels either side as well. So really nice, really well manufactured, well polished and finished buckle, which is a little bit different to the usual. So let's get the macrolins on then, and we'll have a look at it in closer detail. So let's start with the dial. First of all, it is worth noting, I'm really, really annoyed that there is a little bit of fluff around the 57-minute mark. It could be that this is just a press loaner, so I'm hoping that's the case, and I'm sure that the ones that go out won't have the same issue. So here's one of our lovely hour markers. You can see have a brush top and then a polished ramp, which you don't notice. Really, really nice, close attention to detail. And then we have that sphere at the base of it as well. Looks really, really nice. Under close up as well. Really impressed by that. Looking at our main backdrop, we have these vertical lines, and then our logo on a little plaque. Same for Flinders down here. And then obviously this ring is on a top higher level, and then we have the minute track around the outside on a lower level. Looking at the hands, let's just get a flash of lights there. Very nice blue, which gives a lovely flash of colour when the light hits it. Obviously the pitched nature of them helps it to catch the light well as well. There's our M on the counterweight, and then our date wheel border here. So we have a polished outer edge and then a brushed interior. Again, really, really close attention to detail there. Okay, moving on to the case. If I just give it a very, very quick wipe. Here's our brushed side. And our polished bezel. Really crisp, neat edging there. Our polished lug as well, and brushed top. You can see how neat and accurate this angle is here. The machining throughout is very, very good, pretty much spotless. And then moving across the other side, we have our logo. So again, it's very intricate but nicely machined, polished top with a blasted base to it. And then we have a look at a bit of our grip there. Nice thick grip. And underneath here we have our little tiny tab, which allows you to get your nail in underneath, which is simple but effective. And then at the bottom, so here we have our case back brushed with our details lovely and deeply engraved there, secured by 6 screws. And then we have our movement. So here's our top applied bit to the rotor, and then our custom print work as well, which is in the Melbourne font. And then if we want to have a look at the movement itself, here we are. You can see the print work there, SW200-1, which is the movement. So a really, really good movement choice. Can't complain at all. Very reliable, easy to maintain, and I'm sure it will last for a very long time. Okay, so moving on to the strap then. Here we have our top grain, very nice soft grain, as you can see, our matching stitching. I forgot to mention we have quick release pins on the strap, which are really handy. That's the underside. Oh, let's get this, have a look at this. Here's the print work on the underside there. And then finally, just have a quick look at our buckle. So here's the logo. You can see it's started to pick up a few little hairline scratches, but that's completely understandable as it is fully polished. But a really nice engraving there, and then a couple of channels, a channel either side. Okay, right. So, really, really nice design. I think it's simple, elegant, but it has a couple of little nuances which work really, really well. I think the manufacture of it is really, really fantastic. Obviously, there's a tiny bit of fluff on the dial. That's a bit of a bummer. But however, I don't think that should put you off from buying one, because, that's most likely just a one-off. This is most likely a press loaner, so you probably will never find that issue with an actual watch for you. Obviously, the price is a little bit high, isn't it? I'm not going to deny that. 950 Australian dollars, £535, $700 US. Now, this is where things get interesting, because I have noticed in recent years there's been a shift in perception. Many people would think over 500 quid, you can get a real Swiss-made watch. for that much money. And you can get like a Steinhardt, for instance, Ocean One, with fully Swiss made movement as well. However, those Swiss made watches still get a lot of the watch constructed and manufactured in China. So in reality, at the end of the day, a lot of the time you are just paying for the label. So many of these watches from micro brands are blatantly made in China. You know, they openly share that, but that's not a bad thing, because for instance, part of Omega watches are made in China. So there is a lot of good work coming out of China, and there's no point in hiding away from it or shying away from it or being put off by it. So the quality of this watch is really, really good. If it had the Swiss made label on it, then no doubt it would be worth more than what it is. So I think it's really, really nice. The quality does warrant the value of the watch. And I really, really like it. And Melbourne Watch Co is such a great company as well. Obviously, I've been following them for many years, since the very, very first Flinders. And I love what they're putting out there. Sujane, who's the owner, is such a wonderful guy as well. So really, you're buying into the ethos of the company as well when you do buy one of their watches. So really lovely watch, highly recommended. This was the Melbourne Flinders Classic, and that's what it's all about. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as well, guys. Thanks for watching.